Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor, and I am now in the small box again because, once again, I have a special guest with me. Special guest, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Claris. I'm a Canadian indie author and poet, and it's so nice to be here. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for having me.
Okay. Normally, this is the point where I would ask people if there are any topics they typically want to avoid. Uh, Except you managed to sidestep that question by by giving by the fact that you have a press section on your website.
Yeah.
So I I kind of have to ask, uh, what is it that drove you to actually have like to put that up on your website?
I thought it was best to have that prepared for interviews like this one, for example, because often a lot of people do want to ask me questions about my books and my writing, and sometimes they try to ask questions about the projects that I haven't quite finished yet, and I can't really answer those. So I try to redirect them to everything I already have finished instead.
Okay, that's that's actually a smart idea, all things considered. Um, now I have to ask, given you have given you have a pretty extensive uh, uh, bibliography so far, uh, did you always know that you would be writing long form fiction, or has long form fiction novel writing more specifically been your primary focus?
I think writing long form fiction has been a more primary focus for me, especially this year, because I would try to write both long form fiction and individual short stories and poetry, but that just led to me going through some creative burnouts trying to write everything at once. It's great. It's great because I have a lot of ideas, but if I'm focusing on too many things at once, that's when I tend to start like feeling like I'm not getting much progress done on anything, and that frustrates me. So I knew I had to focus more on specific forms than others.
Okay. I should specify that it's currently March 10th when we are recording this. So when you're saying this past year, do you mean the past 2 months or do you mean the past 12?
I would say probably more applicable to the past 2 months so far.
Okay, got it. So mm, your bibliography is not only quite extensive, it is somewhat varied as well. Like you write for for example for different for different age groups. So uh, you already mentioned something about ideas. Do you just have ideas that you notice work better for certain age groups, or uh, how do you make that decision?
When it came to figuring out the ideas for age groups, it was more of a process of I write down the ideas first, and then while I'm going through draft 2 or 3 of the manuscript, that's when I figure out, oh, which age is this appropriate for again? Because, I mean, for some ideas, it would be very obvious. For example, murder mysteries. Yeah, that's probably not appropriate for 5 to 8 year olds.
I don't know.
At least,
Detective Conan kind of manages to make it work,
yeah,
kinda.
I guess they managed to make it work. I guess it depends on how graphically shown the death is and all the motives that go into everything leading up to the kill to begin with. But yeah, I knew that right away from the beginning, after I'd written draft 1 of my murder mysteries, there was no way they would be appropriate for kids.
Yeah, I understand it. So, what is the thought process, or what is the creation process for you like? What do you what do you start with, so to speak?
I would say that most of my ideas just kind of randomly come up after I've consumed a large amount of other creative media. So it could be from me watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos or TV shows, or from reading a bunch of books that has just happened to be in similar genres. For example, I've read a lot of fantasy, and then I've just come up with 2 ideas for fantasy uh, books recently. So that's a whole other thing.
Okay, nice to know. Uh, I assume there are I assume there are many scenes that you given the kind of writing you do, I assume there are many moments or scenes that you intend to include in a book, but then decide against that. So to speak, deleted scenes, so to speak. Do
Yeah.
you do you have any that would fall under? Do you have any that are particularly memorable to you? Something that you'd find worth mentioning?
Oh, that is a good question. Um, I would say that in my second murder mystery book, Engagement to Die For, I was going to reveal that. Okay, so light spoilers, but the main character, her parents are divorced, and her mom is marrying some other guy, but said groom to be gets murdered. He's the victim of that book. But yeah, I was going to reveal at some points that one of the other side characters also had a history of divorced parents, but I did not have the opportunity to put that in there just because of how the plots happened when I was revising it. I just had to cut out the scene because it didn't really make sense for the flow of the rest of the book. But I thought it would have been a good bonding moment for him and the main character had that been brought up.
Okay. My next question is actually, is actually a little bit the opposite of that. So, do you have any scene that you initially considered taking away, but then found that the book actually flowed better with that scene in it?
Mm. That's a harder question, actually. I don't really have a lot of moments where I thought I had to add another scene later in the writing process, but I would say that the closest thing I have to that was um, one of my short stories in my short story collection, Stay Magical. I think there was a brief scene that I had written, but I had not fully fleshed out, so I had to add extra to it to make it flow better.
Okay. Uh, is there any particular aspect of writing that you find, that you find yourself? Ugh, I can't talk anymore for some reason. Restarting. Is there any particular element of your writing that you find yourself, to be very adept at, or that you find very enjoyable to write?
I think what flows best with me is writing the dialogue of the characters. That is often what comes up first, especially when there are like two or three characters just exchanging dialogue over the most ridiculous things. They could be just trying to figure out like, what do you mean this thing happened, or what do you mean these two are related? And then they're just trying to process the shock and awe of it all. And I can visualize them freaking out, but I can't exactly write that down physically at the time. So I'll just write down the dialogue and imagine how that went later on when I'm actually adding in more details.
Okay. I do have to admit I do find myself a little bit in that statement as well because I do also I do also like uh, writing dialogue. I like seeing the kind of spontaneous interactions that that can result from just words, and how people and how characters use their words to really build their to build a reciprocal understanding of each other, of their situation. Next point, somewhat related. Is there anything that you find yourself dreading having to write? Something that you're not that you're maybe not the best at, or that you find that you have to put in the extra effort, or and don't always have the inclination to it.
I would say that the most difficult part was probably writing anything with combat. I am not very good at writing combat. I learned that when writing Winner Takes All. It's like, how do you smash somebody's head with a wine bottle? How does this work? How does somebody flip and fall off a balcony? I had to figure that out because visually I have some idea, but it's harder to translate into words on the page. So I had to run that through several times when I was redrafting that part of the book, just trying to figure out, does this make logical sense to the reader?
I actually have a writing advice video on that, so I'm gonna link that in the iCard above. So when this video comes out, feel free to feel free to check it out.
Oh, I might.
Alternatively, something that I can recommend that will help you a little bit, a little bit sooner might actually be to look up Rosalind Breyer's books. She's a she's a fantasy author, and I find it when she writes combat. She doesn't write it often, but she can be quite adept at it. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
Okay.
That or Jenna Moresi. I don't really recommend other parts of her writing, but the way she writes combat is actually very is actually very interesting and very eye catching.
Oh,
Okay, next point. Uh, Given we found each other on on a Discord community called Indie Offer Spotlight, I think it's safe to say that you are primarily an indie an independently published author.
yeah.
Is was that always the intention? Did you always want to go the indie route, or did you start out or initially intend to go to go trad?
When I first started writing books, I would say that I first thought of going trad, but after doing some research into the process and how that affected the author's writing, and how their final book was published, I realized that I wanted more creative control over my work. So that was the main reason I into self publishing. Another reason I went into self publishing was, well, okay, I guess it's related to some creative control, but it's just so I could have like more control over how the book was marketed, because I knew that if like from that there are some trad books out there that were marketed a specific way, and sometimes it wouldn't be exactly what was expected. So I wanted to make sure that with my marketing of my own books, I was fully transparent with what was in there. So I wasn't deceiving any readers, for lack of better words.
Okay, that answer arguably makes my next question redundant, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Uh, when making the decision when deciding for a particular publishing model over another, uh, did did you find that your research or your experience in publishing proved some of your assumptions about one model or the other to be to be correct or false?
Considering that I haven't really gotten attempted to do trad pub much after I decided to go the indie route, I can't really say if I was like completely right about assuming certain things about trad pub. There I know there are other YouTubers and other people in general that have gone the trad pub route, have had some amazing experiences, and that's great for them. So I would say that's probably best to ask them on their experiences on that. Probably better if you could ask somebody who's done both. Uh, but yeah, I'm not sure how much better I can really answer this question otherwise.
Okay. Uh, Now I'll assume that you have also interacted with a variety of other people, and in fact that in fact you already said that you chose indie publishing specifically because you wanted to have some level of control over how the book would be would be released into the world. Uh, when it comes to these releases, how has the how was the reception uh, how has the reception of these books in general fared for you? Did you find it easy to release, or did you find that the reception your books had fell somewhat in line with what you expected their the impressions they would generate would be?
I think the reception of the books fell in line with what I kind of expected it to, but also I guess one drawback of indie publishing, especially when you're starting out, is that it can be hard to build that audience at first. So, for example, with to contrast with TradPub, you might have like more marketing help on that end, with people knowing that your book exists, and them wanting to find out more about it. But with indie publishing, you're kind of mostly doing that on your own unless you hire extra help or have somebody to work with, or you just happen to be really, really good at marketing, which is something I'm constantly working on.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, do your family or friends know about your know about your writing endeavors? And if yes, how have they responded to it?
That's a good question. I would say that my family does know in general that I write. They're generally supportive of it. It's that they will like congratulate me if I have a new book published and so on. Oh on. As for my friends, I have not told everyone, I guess, as uh, partially because I don't know if it's stuff they're interested in, and yeah, it's I don't know if they would know people that are avid readers of the genres I write for, so that's just mainly the reason.
Okay. Now, yeah, y- I think we've already mentioned at least somewhat a little bit about what what reception was like, uh, or about what your reception was at least initially, how you struggled with that. Have you been able to pick up on any lessons that that you went on to use to on your following books, or that you intend to use in in the future with whatever other books that you have coming out?
I would say that any lessons I learned probably included having an email list, like a good proper email list, because I did not have that at the beginning when I first started self publishing, especially in the murder mysteries. And I think that probably would have helped build the following sooner if I had one to begin with before I started publishing, because then it'd be easier for past readers to know that there were more books out in the murder mystery series, for example, or just for new readers to be able to follow my work much sooner.
Okay. Now, we're coming up on the end of my list actually. So before we close out, I would like to know, of all the questions that I've asked you, is there any you would want me to answer?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, what are the lessons that you have learned with public writing and publishing so far? I'm curious to know if there's anything that you went into this journey not quite expecting to learn, but found out later.
Um, to some extent, I I think I went into indie publishing with the success is a lottery mentality, as in as in you don't really have a lot of control as to whether your book gets picked up. So I just kind of released it in the ether and hoped it would find its audience. I am slowly starting to realize that is not the best approach. And that being said, I have tried to uh, I have tried to create some kind of some kind of platform where I could where I could talk about it. For example, on for example on Twitter, where I'm where I'm at my most vocal. I also have I also have a Discord. I I have a Goodreads as well, but I'm not active at all on that on that platform because I have I have my own issues with it. I'm not gonna go into those now. So it's a matter of I don't know. I haven't really I haven't really found the proper combination of efforts that would actually uh, yield the most dividends. And I'm kind of collecting myself at the moment, trying to figure trying to before I can uh, bring that investment into figuring out what what the best what the best level and what the best combination of investment would be moving ahead.
Yeah, that makes sense, considering it can be hard to figure out what works best for bringing up the momentum of the growth of how many readers are looking at your books, let alone actually reading them and reviewing them, and so on, and supporting your work. But I think it's more of a marathon. I think, not a sprint, and I do think with a lot more persistence and more experimentation, once you figure out that thing that works for you, I think that's when you have to dive deep into it. And I'm still trying to figure out what works best for me too. So that's something we both will figure out.
Okay. Uh, Final question before we close out: Is there any? is there anything you'd like to, you'd like to plug? Any link, any platform, anywhere where, for example, people can find you, or if there is, another offer or another uh, person involved with the, involved either with the industry or who you think does, does good stuff that you'd like to, that you'd like to shout out. So first, let's talk about your own links. Where can people find you?
Yeah. Okay, so I have my own website at clarislam.ca. You can also find me on social media. I'm all over Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky mostly these days. I am trying to be a little more active on the YouTube channel, but we'll see how that goes because that is a whole other different platform than everything else I'm used to.
Yeah. Anyone, any other offers you'd like to shout out, or any artists, any animators, or any stuff like that?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out Vanessa Rakithode. She has written some pretty awesome kid lit. One of them won the Nebula Awards, I think last year it was. So that's pretty awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna check her out.
Yeah.
And well, I'm gonna say that was about it. That was all my questions. And I have to say we're done a little bit sooner than than my average. I have to so I guess thank you for being prompt. But you were nevertheless still quite thorough. I think we had a pretty good conversation going.
Yeah, I'm glad that we had this conversation. Thank you so much.
Okay, and thank you to everyone who's been watching. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. If you did, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either regarding the offer or just or maybe the format more broadly, then that is what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first of my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation and the Path Not Taken, are available at various book retailers under their respective master links in the description down below, right past my social media links, which I also suggest you check out should you choose to. And given I am currently struggling to get my third book published, I might just have updates on it by the time this video comes out. So when you see it, might be a good time to check out those social media links. I also have a second channel where I talk about whatever comes to mind. That'll typically still be about narrative analyses, but of works outside the print medium. So if that sounds like it could be up your alley, then go ahead and check it out. I'll put a link up there. If not, then I suggest you stay on this channel and go through my extensive backlog. If you want to hear my thoughts on the print medium, where aside from an embarrassment of riches when it comes to book reviews, I also do offer interviews and some videos on writing advice, book rewrite videos, and miscellaneous other writing videos. If that doesn't interest you either, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And yeah, that was it from me. And sorry, Claris, for making you kind of stand there a little bit. Really.
No worries.
Well, anyway, until next time, I'm Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.